Hello, buddy. Are you there? Hello, buddy.
Doc, are you there, my friend?
UAP? What's a UAP?
Buddy,
Look,
what's
if
going
you
on?
keep messing with these
Nice to see you,
UFOs,
brother.
you're gonna be a
Where's that
UAP.
profile
An
photo?
unemployed, annoying person.
You were with Dr. Cox for a long time. He has a big length, doesn't he?
Yes. Hey, let's see. We're live.
Oh, beautiful. Doc,
Wait
it's
a
a pleasure
minute.
to be back
We're
with you.
buddy. So here's the deal. I'm having to. 1 second, folks. We'll be with you in a moment. How's everyone doing tonight? Can you everyone hear me? It's not letting me join the Zoom live.
It seems like you're here already as a speaker.
Yeah, it's wanting me to upgrade. They kind of tricked me.
Oh, the commie bastards. I miraculously got my Zoom working.
You did.
Is there another way, or can you download it? Do you have a good speed?
No. You're coming through the phone,
Oh, okay.
and people can hear you. So,
Oh, beautiful, beautiful.
yeah.
And your profile image is enough to visually stimulate them for our time, however long it is.
I think so. Can everyone hear us okay out there? One second. Okay. Hey, everyone. How's it going tonight?
Hey, friends. Love you guys. Thanks
How
for
are
being here.
you? We got Buddy on the line with us. We got some cool stuff we're going to show here tonight. And
And there's been so much UFO news, too, we could summate, maybe.
I think so, yeah. Here, let me upload this. Wait a second here, one moment.
Testing, 1, 2, 3.
Okay. I'm just uploading your photos here.
Oh, beautiful.
We're
I
gonna.
had a little list of thoughts on all the recent UAP whistleblowers, and they're startling and, reconfirming testimony.
Yes.
From Grush to Barber to Sands to all the different people who have come out recently, even yesterday, I think it was, or the day before yesterday.
Right.
To me, my first big takeaway is the estimated number of recovered craft and recent and legacy UFO programs are likely far more numerous and expansive than even we suspected.
Yes.
And we've suspected a lot.
We've suspected a lot.
And that has some wild ramifications. If the craft are not from us somehow, the craft require numerous secret factories, very possibly and maybe even likely in our solar system, which is an interesting thought to think about.
Right.
Where are the production facilities for these advanced vehicles?
Yes. One second here. I want to put up this. Okay, we got your airships up here. And
cool. This goes into the breakaway humans theory. It doesn't matter necessarily when. It could be as far back as like the third burning of the Library of Alexandria. A secret group could have come together and said,
Yes.
We're going to preserve knowledge, human knowledge at all costs, and we're going to be ahead of society. We're not going to tinker with society, but we're going to preserve the knowledge after these events, perhaps. And they could be, and logically would be, decades more advanced than us in modern times. And when I look back at UFO history, there's this bizarre effect that people talk about.
Yeah.
That UFOs seem to predict near future technology, like the era of the airships in the 1890s.
Yeah.
Little drawing.
No, that is true.
And they had weird things on them. They had like bat wings, and a guy would come out asking for water. It came across the country, several sightings in a row. The airship craze is not to be, trifled with. It really isn't.
No, definitely not. Here,
that made me think about like ghost rockets came before the V2s 20 years or less, 15 years before the V2s.
Yes.
And these other craft seem to predict near future technology. There likely is a group of Howard Hughes types, secret organizations, government entities that are going to be decades ahead of us. And that shit would be outrageous.
Buddy, let's start at the beginning. We've got a lot to talk about tonight. I just want to say hi to everyone who's out there. Right now we've got a Terrible Lizard who says they love Buddy and Simeon. We love you too, guys. Renee's there.
We love you, Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Bastion, Rob UK, yo. Thanks everyone tonight for joining us. We are back after, Buddy, how long has it been since we last did one of our Doc and Buddy shows?
Maybe a year?
3.
Could even be that.
3 years. A lot's transpired, and we have a lot to catch up on tonight. Big time. So thanks. So Buddy is joining us over Zoom from my phone, and we're going to have to take a little pause because my battery's getting low here, and I'm going to have to plug in. So give me 1 sec, right? And then we're going to come back. We're going to talk about everything that's transpired since the last time we did this show 3 years ago. So hang on, folks, 1 second. We were going to bring Buddy through this feature in Ecamm, and it says Zoom right here. And I studied it all this afternoon about how to, the new feature since the last time we did our show. There's a Zoom button. And it brings in all your Zoom meetings, and it says, which one do you want to start? And it looks all good, right? Until you click Start Meeting, and it says you need to upgrade Ecamm. And they show you all these different prices. And I've already have the Pro Live Edition. I didn't know there was even...
Pro Live Elite Edition, apparently.
This is for the elites only, and I guess I didn't qualify with my Pro subscription. I thought the Pro subscription would include Zoom, since... Guys... Since we did our last show, Skype has ceased to exist.
It's bizarre.
It has ceased to exist. We used to do this over Skype, remember?
Yes,
early on. Ecamm Live was specialized for Skype, and there was a special workaround for Zoom, right? Well, I mean, this is just fascinating. Just in 3 years, it just seems like yesterday to me, buddy, that we were sitting here doing the show. But in that time period, Skype has disappeared. Microsoft has retired it, right?
Yeah.
And Zoom has an integrated button in my Ecamm Live software here, which, a lot of people use. It's a good streaming software show. And now I'm clicking on it to bring you in direct audio, not through the phone speaker. And it's saying, time, you need to upgrade. It would be nice if they warned you ahead of time before you linked everything. It didn't warn you. I mean, you're linking your Zoom account. Everything looks good. And you go start meeting, import meeting. And it says, you need to give it. Okay, hold on a second, guys. Because we're using my phone and I wasn't planning to do this. Give me 1 sec. I will get my lightning cable. Okay, 1 sec. One moment, guys.
Technology just changes so quickly.
Yeah, keep entertaining them. They can hear you, buddy. You can entertain them in the meantime.
Oh, great. One of the things I've been really studying closely is the change in robotics and artificial intelligence integration into the robots. And they're very human-like now. It's like iRobot. If you've seen, I think it's Optimus from our friend Elon. And the other ones globally, the robots are at a crazy stage right now. And with AI and the ability to remember better than humans and perform fine-tuned tasks better than humans, that foretells a future where you could have robotic judges, robotic surgeons, robotic dancers, and maybe you'll have in the top 10 music songs, there'll be half of them will be from AI or something. Times have changed so quickly. So as time passes like that, technology, the rate at which it increases is phenomenal. So the hidden stuff, we know there's definitely breakaway civilization stuff with different aerospace companies and Department of the Government companies and private companies. But this new stuff could really be our saving grace for the planet. So
yes. Yes. So, buddy.
Yes, sir.
Welcome back to the Doc and Buddy Show.
It's a delight. I can't believe it's been 3 years, my friend.
Yeah, I was looking at the channel, the Reality's Edge channel, and I don't know, maybe it's just my ego, but I kind of felt like we did this topic the best of anyone out there, personally.
Yeah, I think we covered the second level questions.
The second level questions, yeah.
And people, they're logically discernible, some possibilities that are really possible.
Right,
and it's
right.
good to explore those. And we do that. That's why I love our fans.
Yes, now, I want to point out to our fans here that it was 3 years ago that Buddy made a prediction. And the prediction was that there were going to be smaller and smaller UFOs, right?
Yes, they would be in geometric shapes.
Geometric shapes, and they would be getting smaller. And I have to admit, now what I have up on the screen is your drawing that you sent me earlier today. And it's enlarged, so I'm kind of scrolling through it because it takes up the whole screen plus. And
we also mentioned fleets and that more incursions in interaction with the Navy and military groups. And that's certainly been a revelation.
Right. And so here's the thing, buddy. When you predicted these smaller and smaller UFOs, I just thought it was your mind kind of extrapolating in a fractal way from types of craft we've seen to, this idea of a fractal distribution of small craft, right? But it actually freaking happened. I mean, look at these so-called quote-unquote drones. And, I went out to, you'll remember this, I went out to eastern Colorado. Remember that in 2021, 22, when it was around, it was 2020. They had some of these out there, right? But now, since that time, they are all over the place. Most recently, right near where you live in New Jersey.
Yes, and it's interesting, today in that congressional briefing done by a bunch of different, experts and Lou Elizondo hosting, I believe it was Tim Gaudet talking about eastern Colorado being a hotspot for returning craft.
Eastern
So that's very
Colorado.
timely mention, my friend.
Yeah, and why is it? So you actually made this drawing, and let me scroll down your drawing a little bit. Uh,
And fleets, too, is a big part of it. And certainly we've seen more discussions of fleets.
yeah,
And I drew one drawing that was a circle within a square. I don't know if it's the other way around now, but yeah, that's just an extension of logical things that would appear to be futuristic would be more simple than we might expect, rather than more complex than we might expect.
right,
You can
right.
say it doesn't have to be intuition, but it could be a little mix of both.
Mm-hmm.
Logical assessment and intuition. But the military stuff, you know, and I believed then that we were being conditioned for
Mm-hmm.
stuff by
Right.
the presence, and you'd want to condition the military certainly before anything big. So nothing
Yeah.
stupid.
So, the thing about all these craft is I don't think anything that was seen over New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, none of it seemed outwardly, inherently extraterrestrial. I mean, it definitely there were. I spoke to witnesses. These were larger craft. Some described them as small SUV-sized craft that would stay up for hours and hours, right? But
Yeah.
when you looked at the interaction between sheriff and state police helicopters and these craft, that's when it seemed that they were no longer anything easily identifiable because they were faster than the state police helicopters, right? They had the capacity, we're told they went dark as soon as anyone got near them, right? That's sort of an interesting feature. Last time I checked, that's not FAA approved protocol.
Going invisible to
Yeah,
radar.
yeah. I mean, we heard this explanation once the Trump administration came to power in January. A couple days later, they had said they were going to get to the bottom of it for us. Remember that governor's conference meeting? He said, give me a couple days, let me get sworn in, I'll come back and tell you everything I know. And they come back and say, these are FAA approved activities. The last time I checked, you need to have lights on your craft at night. You're not allowed to go dark. So what FAA protocol allows them to go dark when they're being chased by a state police helicopter? And then, buddy, what about this ability that they had to neutralize hobbyists' drones who were just flying around to see what these things were? And they said their batteries died. So, yeah.
It certainly seems there was a range of things going on. I think that's a safe estimation
Yeah.
in the least. And it certainly seems out of control. And it makes you wonder about what's the primary intelligence
Yeah.
behind these craft.
Yeah.
That's a question that's not really delved into too much. What's that primary intelligence that's operating these things? Is it human? Is it non-human? Is it something from Gaia? Is it something from a probe that's been monitoring or tinkering in the solar system?
Yeah.
These are the major questions. What's the primary intelligence behind these?
Right,
Do you think it's a variety? Or do you
look, you and I started this show like 6 years ago, right?
Yeah.
And we agreed we don't understand everything that's going on. It's your mind wants to believe, waking up every day, that if you turn on the news, right, and you listen to your favorite shows and things, and then you tune maybe in at night again, right, news, you sort of know what's happening. But the sociologist in me has to point out maybe nobody knows. Nobody really knows. And it's like typical of any professionals who want to appear, news professionals, right? No, they're not going to say we don't know, because that makes them look like they're not doing their job. But I'm saying these things could be something that we don't understand. And let me just say one thing about this that really threw a monkey wrench into the whole darn subject. It was an article written by, was it von Rennenkampf? From one of the DC area, writes articles and things. Marique.
Okay.
he uncovered evidence that in the 1960s, these objects were showing up in eastern Colorado. Same types of objects, same lightings, groups of them flying around at night. Well, what existed in the 60s? We're talking well before the age of drone technology.
Doc, it's like systematic cover-up.
Yeah.
You know, Harry Reid said in New Yorker Magazine about 5 years ago, and there was recently an event up at a missile base up in, I think he mentioned Montana. So
Right.
it was Malmstrom again, a repeat incident.
Yeah, yeah.
And no one delved into finding out about that case. We did a little investigation and got even someone from the local area to mention that there was a blackout on the base.
Yeah.
And other information came out over time, but that's a huge case. It's preposterous at this point, Doc.
It's
really
preposterous. It's like Orwellian newspeak. Remember in 1984, Orwell's book that the who their country's at war with keeps changing every couple of months, and then they would say, "Well, we've always been at war with them. Your memory's wrong, right?" And so this, I just feel like we're dealing in a type of mass manipulation of public awareness of these events, because the whole thing doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense from Roswell up to the present. Even these hearings we've had have not been very deep. Let's be honest about it. They've talked about cases. I think these things are fascinating, that the F-18 pilots and Nimitz, East Coast events, all that. But that's just in the past 20 years. What have we been dealing with for 70, 80 years? Some people think it goes back to some crash at Magenta in Italy in
Italy, yeah.
33. What are we dealing with here? And I think if we don't know what we're dealing with, I'm happy to admit this, guys. I have a PhD. I'm happy to admit I don't know what we're dealing with here, because it's, as Buddy has been drawing for us in these cool little drawings, we don't, their shapes are always changing, as you said right at the beginning of the show, Bud, to always be a little in our future, right? Like airships and triangles and ghost rockets. Don't forget the ghost rockets.
Of course.
It's always a little ahead of us. And, you do your research, and this human technology in the 1890s did not exist for far-flung flights of airships. They just were very local. They didn't really stay up very long. They didn't go very far. So.
Yes, and they were stationary too, many of them.
Yeah.
And so there must have been prodigies or Howard Hughes types who experimented, and that's
Yeah.
why there was wacky bat wings on them and things that seemed not.
Wacky bat wings.
And here's the other question. If they've been around for more than a couple hundred years,
Yes.
if they've been around longer for some reason, whatever their origins, why do millions die on the planet in war and disease?
Yes.
That says something about them. And
Right.
I wrote a list of things that, if UAP have been around for a long time, what are the questions we need to be asking ourselves to find
Right.
out more about them? And
Right.
I pondered how Earth has had different biological eras with different
Yeah.
biospheres,
Yeah.
and they all end at a biological peak with
Right.
some mega disaster.
Yes.
That's what we can tell basically from now. Why is that? Are we a crop, or are we being tinkered with? Is it evolution being tinkered with? We don't know.
There is a bigger story here, and that's what nobody wants to talk about. Because even the so-called UFO experts, they want to be the guys, right? The gals. I mean, they want to be the ones figuring it out, right? And nothing wrong with... What's that?
And they're pushing things like NHI now is the big common.
Yeah, now it's called NHI, and it has new labels. And I think nobody could stand up and just admit that we don't know, this intelligence is really capable of taking lots of different forms. And I think our minds are just not quite there for understanding it, because I'm attempting to show your drawing here. When I when I attempt to show it too much,
So my experience, the blue one.
okay, I got it now. Okay, everyone can see it on the screen. So we have airships to ghost rockets to saucers, the bears, the bat wings, triangles.
Yes.
Uh,
And to-
hats are kibbutzes, folding.
Yes, weird UFO.
Yes, geometrics, and fleets of geometrics. And what do we got? Yes, and then we had the little tiny ones that have been seen around, the aircraft carriers. Now, here's the thing. You hear critics saying, oh, those are drones, right? Those are Chinese drones around our fleets and blah, 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 blah. I doubt it. I seriously doubt it. I mean, those ships are equipped with all sorts of defensive weapons, Gatling guns, all this stuff. I just don't think they're letting those show up over their ships voluntarily.
Yes, and Doc, and if these craft have been recoverable since at least 1933, as you were saying, then what are they doing with what they learned? They're not. I don't believe they're not learning anything. They're not getting advanced technology from it.
Yeah,
And
yeah. That could be what it is, buddy. Is they're getting something from it. So even if they don't understand it like we want to here on the show, right? They're still getting something from it. Now, you're in a lot of different circles of people.
yes.
And we haven't spoken that much in the past couple of years. I imagine you are hearing scuttlebutt about what they're getting out of it, right?
Oh yeah.
So this isn't just speculation on your part.
I think it's speculation, intuition, and direct, information from people involved in different.
Got it. Yeah.
Doc, think if just since 1933, it would be the most secret, most funded program again and again. Department of Energy would have multiple different projects. DOD, DIA,
Yeah.
Navy, Air Force, all the private companies. They do that little trick with to avoid FOIA and.
Yeah. Yep. The
It's
old
big.
avoid the FOIA trick.
Yeah, it's a classic. Yeah.
It is a classic, and
What does that say about these beings or the intelligence behind the craft that it almost seems like they're fueling war to me. Why not disclose their mission?
yeah.
If you don't have something to hide, why not disclose your mission? If it's peaceful or benevolent.
Right.
Just questions. I'm not saying anything, for certain. I'm just posing, very conceivable questions, I believe.
Right. We don't know. I mean, we keep hearing this thing about 2027, right?
Yes.
That something's going to be happening, and I believe it was one of the sources. Where did he recently at this conference in California? Somebody asked him. The guy from CIA.
Dan Smith?
No, I forgot his name. He was the guy that came forward about the missile analyst who came forward. Not.
Yes, the woman.
No, it was the guy, John Ramirez.
Oh, Ramirez. Okay, yes.
And he said, someone asked him, is there anything you're not allowed to talk about? I forgot what the other two were. The first was 2027. He's not allowed to talk about 2027. So, I mean, I wonder, it really, this whole thing could be so big. It could be so big that, the people that actually know what is going on a little bit don't even want to share a tidbit of it. And that's sort of what we've gotten out of these hearings so far. Since you and I, started the show a long time ago, there have been hearings now in Congress, right? But they haven't been very satisfying, or is it just me? I don't really feel like we're getting anywhere with them.
We got some incredible information from Grush.
We did.
I think
Yeah.
other testimony for the military cases were important to get on congressional record because that supports future efforts and I thought the hearing today was, really great. We got to hear new information from different sources.
I did. So I missed it today. Who was hosting the meeting today? I heard the one yesterday about UAP and over military installations, the drones and so forth. What happened today?
Oh, no, that was the one I'm referring to again. I just was thinking it was today because it was so fresh in my mind.
I heard part of that. Yet that they said there were over 100 air bases affected by incursions of these objects.
Yeah, and Navy and hinted at tremendous amount of undersea stuff.
Undersea stuff, yeah.
All the stuff we've been talking about. We found out in the past few years that there are confirmed orbital assets investigating this topic. And we know that other countries are deeply investigating this topic.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
It seems like this could either be our death, because who wants invisible hypersonic transmedium, nuclear MIRVs, multi-reentry
right.
vehicles. That's the trajectory for the future with this technology. Otherwise, it could, on the other hand, if disclosed, it could literally save, I believe, our planet and how we treat our planet and our space travels and everything else that could save us.
Yeah.
But maybe I'm just a dreamer of, this could be out of our hands.
Well, whatever it is, I mean, it's big. And I do agree. Grush really told us a lot, but it hasn't really moved forward since then. And maybe this goes forward in little bits here and there. We didn't hear specifics, and we didn't hear it. I am sure in classified briefings, people heard it in Congress, right? There were classified briefings. We didn't hear it as the public. But Omar here says, Prometheus gave fire. Hi, Omar. How's it going?
Omar, I love you, Omar.
Yes. Same, gave fire to men, same story, different epoch. Right, that's right. And divine inspiration leads to intervention. If this were really to happen, even in 2027, something to start, I mean, that's big. It's big because there's been so much denial around it. I'm not sure people would be surprised, but I mean, that would be a different game on planet Earth if there are other actors here, right? It's a different game. It's a different game.
Yes, and we've got enough high-ranking, very credible new witnesses that talk about things like biologicals.
Yeah.
Carbon biologicals.
Yes.
With great confidence. And I don't think they would risk everything they have without very strong evidence to make such statements. Like Grush,
right.
I find Grush incredibly credible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, Grush was very credible, and we hear he's involved in new things now, maybe a movie and some other. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of us have been waiting, for a while now, for quite a while, for some real solid, incontrovertible evidence. I've seen the evidence. I've talked to the witnesses who have the evidence. I know this is real because people approach me occasionally and tell me their stories. But they don't give me permission to repeat what they've told me because they feel they would be violating an NDA or some national security directive. So I'm in one of these positions, probably like you, buddy, where, you've talked to someone that's been on a base and has really seen something that is so out of the ordinary, they're not even sure if they're allowed to talk about it. You can see a visceral reaction in their bodies. You meet them at conferences and stuff, and they tell you what they've seen or what their parent who worked on the base saw and told them. Not right away, like decades later, this is what really happened, but I never felt comfortable talking about it. And
they hide the supporting facts and evidence. If we had the radar returns from the Nimitz, we know they have.
Yeah.
If we had the other data, if we had the full gimbal footage, which we've already been told by Lou is longer and shows an incredible feat after its rotation. That's the kind of unspoken supposition.
Yeah, it is really, guys, you have to admit, this is a really fascinating situation we're in here, don't you think? I mean, we're getting to the edge of some really important testimony. And we're told by people like Elizondo that the footage exists, right?
Yes, really close. 4K, we're told of that.
Okay, so, yeah. No, right. So we haven't seen it, but someone has seen it, and it means it's out there. And given this turbulent political environment we're in, you wouldn't be surprised for anything to come out from Washington these days. By the way, Rob UK says there was. Okay, so Rob is correcting us. Rob UK is saying there was a conference today. You saw this one with Elizondo, Godlett, and Davis Mellon. Is that right?
Correct.
So was that government? I didn't see this today, but was it?
It was a congressional briefing.
Oh, it was a congressional. It was a congressional briefing. Okay. So it was today. The one I saw yesterday, most of was just drone incursions, quote unquote drones, over U.S. bases, and they were talking about domain awareness and different threat analysis, like what are these objects and what's going on here. So this is a different conference, and they're talking openly about recovered craft. Yeah. So this is really the biggie. Is maybe, Bud, it gets back to what you're saying, is who's ever recovered the craft, I mean, they don't really want to share it very much, do they?
No. And the ramifications of having craft that are made with nanofabrication that are visible to other spectrums, from visual spectrums to a wide range of the electromagnetic field, and can flow at hypersonic speeds, and the energy sources behind that. This is like, top of the line secrecy, by all the major powers.
Yeah, and I've been told by people that work in these programs that what the concern is, it's not you and me and those of us on the show right now. It's foreign adversaries figuring this out before the U.S. does, like getting the same materials, all of a sudden having a technological breakthrough, right? That allows them to have tic-tac-like craft that we, Louis
Elizondo said when he first came out that there was so much evidence, there's so much stuff that it was a security risk for the United States getting into the hands of China and Russia.
I think that is the belief amongst the defense establishment. Yep.
Yeah, and that's the excuse too.
That is the excuse. Yeah, that is the excuse. I mean, it could be true. I just remember in the when I grew up in the 80s, there was this feeling like the Soviet Union had completely surpassed the U.S. and was like a real military threat and so forth.
Yeah.
But what was that?
The space race and everything, yeah.
Yeah, and at the same time, we found out later, as the Soviet Union fell apart, that their army was a bunch of kind of, demoralized, drunken,
Yeah, we see that in Ukraine now.
Same thing. That they weren't the threat that they had. They had a big bark, but the bite wouldn't be as bad as the bark, because we're seeing this in Ukraine right now. That they're just not that good because they just don't have the support that you would need to really conduct a military operation like that. I mean, you don't have. I'm talking about supplies, food, right, shelter, water.
Yeah.
Water. Just that. So it's a limitation, and it was always there. So I think we do have to wonder. It's a reasonable question, Bud. Is this threat? I mean, is this potential threat from our adversaries getting their hands on the technology? Elizondo and others have said this. That it could be true. I'm happy to be proved. I mean, someone could prove it to me. It could be true, or is it an excuse? What do you think?
Think about this. China would put this together in a very unified, very efficient manner, and would constantly re-scrutinize the efficiency of it. It wouldn't have all the disorganized stovepipes that exist now within the U.S. government.
Right. That's a very good point. That's a very good point.
That hence, and their space systems and space race with the U.S. Now they've eclipsed us. They're on the far side of the moon with the robotic base,
Right?
doing all this stuff at a faster rate, and in crazy, they're copying SpaceX and everyone.
Yeah.
China's not. You can't rule China out.
No. They're highly advanced scientifically. I mean, I'm not sure their entire economy is developed enough to support the type of industrialization that we're capable of here.
Yeah.
However, when I read my science magazine, inevitably the most interesting advanced physics relating to condensed materials and plasmas, right? And self-organizing systems.
2D materials.
And comes out of China. It's always Chinese authorship. I look at the authors every time. I think, cool, is someone in the U.S. doing this, right? No. They might be a co-author here and there, but it's mostly Chinese authors. I'm telling you, it looks to me like very advanced science that so I wouldn't be surprised if they could take something that, and I've heard this too, but that we're so stovepiped, we're not capable anymore of developing this here because people in those programs can't talk to each other. It's so compartmentalized, but they don't suffer that. Yeah. So that is something that really could happen. And I mean, it's already pretty shaky as it is technologically. And, there isn't any guarantee that the West is always going to stay ahead this way. And it wouldn't take very many breakthroughs. But, okay, let's just use a concrete example, right? Let's say they find a way to develop coherent matter, plasmas, coherent matter, exotic vacuum objects with propulsion.
Yeah.
Using zero-point energy.
And power, perhaps.
Exactly.
Ultra capacitors reaching energy levels we wouldn't speculate.
Yeah, that type of thing. Right, exactly. I mean, that would be a real leap ahead. I mean, let's say, because look, with these so-called drones, the argument was last December, right, November, December, that we don't have drone technology that can stay aloft for 6 or 7 hours. Our hobby drones stay up for half an hour, right? Maximum speed, 30 miles an hour, max, And yet these things are, I mean, the witnesses I talked to in Jersey said they're up all night over their streets, going back and forth. I mean, so someone made a technological breakthrough to keep those objects up. Yeah. So that would be a game changer if you had battery-driven technology that could reach those speeds that are faster than helicopters, right? And can stay up for hours and can neutralize your vehicles, aerial vehicles. I mean, that is a big change, and maybe that's what we're talking about here.
And you know what? Barber came out and spoke about his use of directed energy weapons, microwave weapons, to disable different electronics. So we already have admission of what I've already seen in different military vehicles and stuff. The use of the electromagnetic spectrum as another form of a weapon.
Right. And I think
there's a solution though. I think because there's such a vested interest in not revealing stuff. If they just show a craft is something that you can't deny as easily as a photo or a video or even a military video. A craft is like solid. It's like, this is the proof we're not alone. And that physical craft, you don't have to reveal the systems, just show the freaking thing. Maybe take off some of the antennas or something if that makes you feel like you're safer with China. But that's what we need. That type of revelation could replace our priorities.
Yeah, and again, as you and I have been saying since we started the show, right? Wouldn't it be just amazing for our minds and our imagination and for kids to
incredible
open up the American imagination, right?
Yes.
Just to the possibilities here without seeing it as a threat. And I'm not dealing with all the ramifications, every little craft and every intention of every entity. But I'm saying in general, to lift off the Band-Aid and let's take a look at what we're dealing with here. Because it would cause such... Think of the discussion we're having right now with very little evidence. Let's say we had evidence and it was certified and it's...
Show the craft. let's say they
Show the craft. Show the craft. Show the craft.
Right. That would inspire kids like nobody's business. We'd be ahead of China within. 20
Yeah,
years.
yeah. You and I have been saying this from the beginning. It would, we have all these social issues, and it seems people are disillusioned, right? And we're told there are record rates of mental challenges, disabilities, and wouldn't it give people something, just the types of conversations you could just have with your neighbors, right? Ooh, what kind of craft is it? Where are they from? There'd be a real sense of wonder. But we have been too overprotected ever since World War II ended, and those government security agencies didn't give up their baton and pass it back to civilian control. That's really what happened, and they've been dumbing us down for decades. I'm not saying that they're bad people or anything. I'm just saying the net effect of all this government-funded science, centralized government science, was to really dumb us down in a bad way. In a bad way.
And our ranking in terms of education and our kids
Yeah.
is atrocious right now.
Atrocious.
Globally.
No, but here's the good news. It's like in Stairway to Heaven. Remember when Robert Plant in the live edition says, "I got some good news. Listen, if there's a bustle in your hedgerow, don't be alarmed now.
Yes, my
It's
friend.
just a
That's the way to
spring clean for the May Queen." Yeah,
Yes, my friend.
right. So I think there's some good news here, guys. And just everyone, thanks for watching tonight. The good news is the universe is this infinitely large, complex thing with a lot of actors and actresses in it. And we're not in control of it. Even none of us are, governments are not in control. And those agents can choose to show up. They can do overflights. And it's getting harder and harder to cover it up. It's really getting harder. There's too many people out there
Too much evidence.
filming. There's too many congressional hearings now. All it would take would be some mass sighting. We haven't had one of those. We had it in 97 with Phoenix Lights, something like that. If something like that were to happen again, even, I know cell phone cameras aren't ideal for these objects. We've heard about this now. We've had other, organizations out there, companies that have better cameras, and it's getting better. I just think that when we have some of these overflights again, they're going to be more filmed. And I think we're getting primed, we're getting prepped for this, because with all these hearings right now, you could have them on the spot for what was that last week over that city. And I just think it's going to be, okay, so you predicted 3-4 years ago, fractal UFOs, smaller UFOs,
Especially
yeah.
closer you got to the surface, the number would increase and their
Yeah.
size would get smaller.
Right.
Therefore, we put more smaller ones in the spheres that really come out.
Right.
To be,
Yeah, these real little ones. And this is what we had with these so-called drones. I mean, based on the witnesses, I thought she had listened to our show. This was a woman in Morristown. And she said there was a big one, the size of an SUV, higher up. And then a smaller ones were coming out of it. Like your little mothership idea. You drew a picture of this years ago. I just thought I thought it was science fiction at the time.
it makes logical sense. Every ship in the future, every craft, every car, every vehicle, everything is going to have drones protecting it and watching out.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah.
And those drones will have drones, and those drones will have drones, and down to the smaller size, since we already do nano.
Yeah, and
fabrication now.
No, it's really been shown recently, especially with the Ukraine-Russia conflict.
Yeah.
The importance of these drones. I mean, none of us would have imagined even a couple of years ago that you could really have such an impact. They're printed by 3D printers en masse now.
And they were able to have naval drones that shoot down helicopters. They're able to have naval drones that launch drones, other drones that serve as relays. For other drones. Fiber optic drones. It's changing every week.
Fiber optic ones, yeah. I'm just amazed. Again, Yeah, and we'll continue this conversation. We're coming to the end here because we're getting to the top of the hour, bud. But I mean, that statement from the Trump administration, from their press secretary, that these were FAA approved activities that are immune to any sort of electromagnetic interference from U.S. military anti-drone weapons.
It's preposterous.
What? Okay, so exactly what FAA activities were they? What can you be a little more? Yeah, well, night after night, all over I saw one of these driving in. I was coming into this area on December 13th from the west, and at December 13th at 7:04 p.m. over Paterson, New Jersey, just past Morristown area, something came past my car, and News Nation had a little clip of it just a week ago. What plane has a strip of lights 30 feet on each side and then a strobe on under the cockpit? I've never seen a plane with strips of lights on the fuselage that's FAA approved at
think about this, Doc.
1,000 feet, just 1,000 feet above the highway. I mean, you could see it. I couldn't take.
They've admitted to using different types of drones to collect different types of data from cities.
Yeah.
Crime data, tracking
Yeah.
groups at the same time. So they're not going to admit that they're testing some of this stuff in the locations they need to, cities in place, if they're going to use it militarily. It stinks to high heaven.
Right. It's just, it's not a good, we're not being told what's going on. But again, I would say, Rob UK is suggesting that these can be powered from satellites. That's not the laser. Yeah, maybe. Well, it's possible. You don't know, but I would just say the fact that we're here talking about this, and there's a lot of other podcasts now since you and I started our show 6 years ago. There's other podcasts out there doing this frequently. I think we're getting of the mindset that something is coming, right? And
conditioned.
But we don't know what it is, and we haven't seen the photos of the recovered craft yet. We did have that egg-shaped craft a couple months ago.
That was compelling.
Yeah, that was something. So I guess we're just going to wait and see what happens here, and every day is going to be really fascinating. So I would say, any of us who are around now, I would say give yourself a pat on the back for having made it this far and stayed interested, right, in the topic.
Right. And gone this deep into the rabbit hole of basically logical next level questions.
Logical next level questions. Because, one of the things I learned, just to sum this up, is I learned from graduate school, I think I learned something positive, which was, and it's helped in RV too, suspend the tendency to want to draw a conclusion sometimes, right? Just kind of be okay with the uncertainty of it from all the data. And you actually really don't know what the data is showing you. It could take weeks and months to, right? You know what I'm saying? To look at it and come to a conclusion and just resist these kind of superficial interpretations. That's sort of what you're getting paid to do, is not make a conclusion. Just admit there's something there, but you don't know, even if that's sort of frustrating not to know,
Yeah, you want to name the target. People want to name the target, and that's the last thing you try to do. You gather all this sense stuff, and that's what a good scientist does. We're skeptical.
Yeah.
We come up with a bunch of different possibilities and examine them, and in that exploration, we can find deeper truths, I believe.
Yeah. So we're in that space right now. It's like a plane kind of not being allowed quite to land at the airport yet. They're saying you just got to circle for another 10, 15 minutes. We're kind of in that holding pattern, but I do feel whatever is going to come out of here is going to be interesting and worthwhile. And but I think it's going to be substantive. It is going to have substance. It's going to be a different substance than we're used to, but it's going to have substance, and it's going to be the way the universe really works. and it's self-correcting. So I think it's great, and we're all going to be along on the ride, and we're going to figure this out together.
Doc, you've been in the woods. I've been in the woods. And it's very healthy for a human to realize you're not the king of the forest. That there's black bears and ticks and snakes
Yeah,
and all
yeah,
sorts of
yeah.
things. You're not the top dog, and that's healthy. It gives you a more healthy interaction with nature. And I think that's how we can look at this subject as well, you know?
I think so, Bud. By the way, Bud, what is this other image
The
you
blue one?
sent? Yeah, I can't show it really well.
It's the best rendition right after an event where I was leaving Huntsville, Alabama, after being at some labs there.
They're
I was
trees.
going
Yeah.
north from Huntsville,
Yes, yes.
and a craft came from the front of us, north of Huntsville, Alabama, circled around us,
Yeah.
then flew parallel to the passenger side for maybe 15 seconds. And in the passenger seat was an aerospace CEO. And he got it on video and pictures, and he's not spoke about it publicly, but we've spoken many times about the experience and what we saw and reviewed the images and to confirm. And there's a little bit of discrepancy between what we both experienced, but it had this unmistakable, super bright blue neon
Wow.
structure to it, and everything had that to it, and there were translucent aspects. to it.
Yeah, I love that description. You know, just the way you described that, it sounds fascinating and exciting.
Yeah, it was one of my peak experiences, and to have someone else there was
Yeah.
like wonderful grounding. You don't always have people there with you when phenomena happens, and it's very
Right.
healthy to have others with you.
Right, right. Yeah, it's great to have multiple witnesses. And well, folks. Oh, hey, Patrick. Patrick says hi. Hi, Pat.
Hey, Patrick,
Uh,
Noble, I bet.
Yeah, so here's what I want to say, people. Thanks for watching tonight. And you know, I believe in my gut, we're gonna figure this out together, right? It's not for any one of us to be the star, right? To be I'm the one that figured it out, or blah blah blah. No,
Right.
we're doing this together because each of us has a piece of the puzzle. You have your experiences, Bud, right? No one else has your experiences. I have my experiences, people I've talked to. And everyone listening tonight, I can see from the list of people who have listened, these are all people that have been with us on the show since 6 years ago. So they have been involved. If we're not doing a broadcast at any time, they're listening to other podcasts and broadcasts. So we're all kind of putting this together like a parallel processing computer. And together we're going to figure it out. It's not going to be any one person. It's going to be all of us together. So I'm just saying, keep the faith, folks. And we're going to keep on keeping on. And thank you.
And I would suggest only to stay as much as you can in reality's edge.
Yes, as much as you can at the edge, because the edge is where the fun is, right?
Right, the mysteries, the magic, the new
The mysteries,
physics,
the magic.
that's called phenomena now.
Yeah, exactly. Phenomena now. Yes, exactly. Well, stay tuned there, Bud, for a second. I'm just going to say good night to the audience. I'm going to finish the broadcast. Hello, Short Order Cook. Thanks for watching again, folks, and we'll see you again sometime soon. I would play the theme song, but it is not quite coming off the way I expected, so we're just going to end the show. But thanks, folks, and we'll see you soon. Take care.